Why do I do what I do? The music, the YouTube content, essays, writing, whatever. Why? Why? Do I do it for the money? Obviously not. That would be preposterous given the amount of money that comes in. I come out in the plus, obviously. I'm a professional, but no, I don't do it for the money. Do I do it for the pure joy of doing it? Yes, of course. Write the music, come up with the ideas, the melodies, the pure substance of what it is, of course. That's the pure substantial core, the sensual, erotic aspect of it. However, I've come to realize that I am deeply animated by this thing, thumos, which I didn't know this word until very recently. It's an ancient Greek word, and I think it's thumos, or yeah, I'll say thumos. I think it's also maybe Thymos, but I didn't know this term. It's one of those ancient Greek words that like doesn't quite have an exact translation, which is exactly what I need in my life. Is these words that don't have, they're not really present in the modern world because the translation isn't crisp. It's hard to define. So this is good. But roughly what it seems to mean is a desire for recognition. Not just a desire, but a striving, a drive toward being recognized. And it's like, basically, it's like being respected by people that you respect. It's a bond between you and other people and a community. And I got into this idea. I learned about it from Peter Sloterdijk from his book Rage and Time. Really, really interesting book. Sloterdijk is one of my favorite thinkers I got into the past couple of years. And I know it also goes back to Plato. I haven't read the Plato stuff about thumos, but I think it's logos, eros, and thumos are a triad for him. Even without having read that, I'm going to riff on it anyway. What do you think of that? But basically, one of the things that Sloterdijk talks about is how he says that psychoanalysis and just the whole post-Freudian way of looking at things, it's too concerned with eros, that everything is considered to be based on erotic drives, sexual drives, which also is the death drive as well. So there's this, sex and death and this sort of chaotic, fiery energy, this sort of substrate that's beneath everything. And then all of this logical stuff and logos, all these things on top of it are kind of repressing it or shaping it. Everything's sex, sex, sex. Eros, the erotic. And he says, no, we should have, we should. I hate we should. I'm like really trying to move away from saying that. But he thinks that it would be a lot healthier to look at psychoanalysis and society and stuff in terms of thumos and thumotic bonds. And something that I'm into about it, at least my understanding of it, through Sloterdijk and through, just looking at weird little things on YouTube about it, is that it's like a drive, but it's not the chaotic, fiery eros of just base desires and this biological id kind of thing. But it's not logos where it's like cerebral and ideas and schemes and systems. It's like somewhere in between where it has that aggressive drive thing, but it's not all dark and night nocturnal. It's got this like daylight vibe. It's like it's a drive, but to be recognized by those who you respect in a community and to be part of something. But not like, oh, could you include me, guys? I hope you guys like me. It's this strength of stout-heartedness or honor, I guess they would also say. And you feel how that's a kind of thing that it's not a dead idea, but it's just not something that people throw around a lot. He was an honorable man. He strove for recognition. It doesn't have to be warlike. It doesn't necessarily have to be a masculinist thing, but I do kind of put it in those terms. I put it in this very like mask kind of aesthetic, the way I talk about it, just because I'm a man and just because it gets me hyped on that. For me, I don't know. For me, eros gets more like feminine and masculine. It's like, oh, like what is it? But But thumos to me has this, just for me, but as a masculine thing. But as far as Sloterdijk is concerned, it's absolutely a thing between women. It's a thing between women and men, non-binary, whoever. Thymos is for everyone. But I do, for me, I do feel like this thing of just like striving for recognition on the battlefield or something. Um, there's there's this social civic vibe to it in a way. We're really just being part of a community, a musical artistic community. And something that I find inspiring thinking about Thymos and how it works in my sort of psychic and creative economy or ecology, it's like I like it because I used to always think of art itself, the music, as being really based in eros. And there's maybe some eros and some logos within that, right? There's the erotic is maybe more Dionysian, the logos is maybe more Apollonian. There's that tension within the music. And then, then there's like the business aspect. I always thought of it as like the artwork is this pure thing, and then the business hustling aspect is this sort of debased, dirty thing that, like, okay, we all love to chase, clout or whatever, but that's not really what it's about. That's shallow. But the cool thing about Thymos is that it's like it's deeper than clout, but it has that public striving for other people, to connect with other people energy, and like it is ego, it is pride, it is that, but it's not that shallow ego that's basically just erotic grasping. And I've been trying to sort of wean myself off of throwing around the word capitalism in this sort of facile way. Like everyone now feels like they're qualified to throw that word around. I'm trying to back off and not be so grabby with that word. But let's say we're just talking about business. Let's say we're talking about the way the music industry works and just the culture industry and social media, that kind of thing. If we could call that capitalism, whatever that is, that's always seemed like this sort of unhealthy configuration of logos and eros. So it's always been like you're going to take your music and then you're going to plug that into this capitalist business machine, and it'll be like in that machine you're going to be using logos logic to game the system so that you can get as much erotic satisfaction as possible. So you're going to scheme and come up with all these logical instrumental calculations in order to get the most money, the most dopamine, the most likes, the most pussy, the most, clout. And it's like these two extremes of the most base desire and then the most cerebral gaming. Whereas like Thymos is this other thing where it's not clout. See, that's the thing. I was thinking about the word clout, being a clout chaser, a clout demon. Why is that different than Thymodic, the robust stout-heartedness of Thymodic drive? It's that clout is this instrumental thing where you gain clout and then you can use it to get more clout. It's like quantifiable. It's like, oh, how much clout do you have? Do you have more than that guy or less than that guy? Like, oh, how many likes did you get? You can quantify clout in a way. I mean, maybe not totally, but it's like it's a thing used to get other things. So it's hollow, because that's what business is. That's what capital is. It's things to get more things. It's everything is in the service of getting more things or something else. Everything's instrumental. Whereas the difference to me, in my mind, between this Thymos versus clout chasing is that with Thymos, it's only just about the recognition itself in this substantive way. You're a part of something, you respect people, they respect you, there's this recognition, it's a bond. It's not, so it's social in that regard. It's competitive, but still social, all right? Is it hierarchical? Maybe, sort of. But you're not just competing so that you can crush the other guy. Oh, like, I mean, that guy's got it. I'm going to step over him. It's like, no, there's a substantive respect between people. And I mean, that's the thing with these Thymodic bonds that you feel with people in your community. There's like this way that it's mutual, but it doesn't have to be completely equal or equivalent. The like amounts of respect don't have to be zero sum. I mean, in the sense that it's like you want to respect somebody. You want to be surrounded by people that you respect. It's not like, oh, I respect them, so, but I'm not going to really give them respect unless they give me respect. It's got to be equal because I don't want to be a sucker and I don't want anyone to be above. It's like, it's not like that. You know, it doesn't have, it's not a quantifiable thing of amounts of respect. It's a way of connecting with people in a stout-hearted, striving way where you're striving to be better because they're great. Um, in a way, this is just any healthy human being understands this, but it gets lost a little bit. It gets lost a little bit in this world of art where everything becomes totally split between this, you know, this like hyper crazed hustling mode in public and then this totally monastic mystical mountaintop uh, art world within. You know, so thumos kind of is like this mediated in between zone that is I'm starting to realize I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. You know, this is a thing because you know everybody wants to say that they don't give a shit about the public. You know, every like artist, it's like you want to be like this pure, like I just do it, man, for the music. The music just, that's what it's all about. I don't even care if anyone buys it. You know, it's like you do care. You know, when you say you don't care about having a career, when you say I don't care about, you know, hustling and that kind of stuff and clout, what you mean is you don't care, that you don't want to get caught up in the hollow grasping of the capitalist aspect of it, that hungry ghost, hierarchical ladder climbing. As far as that Sloterdijk book, Rage and Time, on the one hand, I totally do recommend it. It's awesome, fascinating book. But actually, I don't know if it's really the best articulation of what thumos is, because he starts off talking about thumos in the beginning of the book, but then he pivots into talking about rage, and he almost elides them as though they're the same thing, but they really aren't. And then most of the book is about how rage and resentment have fueled movements all the way from ISIS through communism, and it's fascinating. But I think maybe for him, rage is like thumos that's thwarted or unrequited. But then it's not really thumos, then, is it? If it has that bitterness to it. Anyway, it's I think, you know, what I've come to learn is I've partially learned this through boxing recently, because I've been part of my midlife crisis is I'm super into boxing now, not watching but doing it. And every Thursday I do this boxing club in the park, in Griffith Park, where me and these three other guys go and fight. And it's like, you know, I never played sports growing up as a kid because I was just straight up like glitter and popsicle sticks and indoor kid, you know. And I didn't like sports because I didn't like the teams. I was like, I don't know these guys. I don't necessarily, you know, I don't know. It's like, and I just didn't like the culture. But then later in life, I'm like, no, man, like sports, there's something you learn from this. I guess it's just sportsmanship or something. This desire to compete. But it's not about winning necessarily. It's how you play the game. Really showing heart. You know, people, that's an old-fashioned word, showing heart. Yeah, he had heart. You showed a lot of heart, kid. You know, that's something you don't hear a lot. So I think part of just the utter just abyss of cultural pathology and just social hell that we live in. I don't know if spreading this idea of thumos is necessarily, you know, top on the list of the most important thing, but I think just these words that aren't dead, but they're kind of old-fashioned or ancient, and that some of the meaning has been maybe lost. Words like that, I think, need to. I'm in search for words and ideas like that to articulate things that are currents, psychological currents, and creative, spiritual currents that are kind of being sidelined by capitalism. Man, I'll say it. It's what's going on. Let's just face the fact. I don't need a PhD to say capitalism. You know what I mean. Okay. Keep it tomatic, people. Bye.